Nice hat.
We were just talking about, marketing, and people try to come up with way too cute names for their marketing brands. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, keep it simple. Nice hat.
Yeah, nice hat. That's cool.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Mortgage Influencers, where we bring you professionals who share insight into the latest trends, tips, industry technology, and services to help you be a mortgage influencer in your mortgage business.
Well, hello. Welcome to the first Wednesday of September. Happy fall. And we're excited to get started today. Ginger Bell here, Scott Schang here, Frank Garay here, Carl's in Rome, and we have a special guest with a very nice hat, Mr. Tim Davis.
Wow, I didn't even notice that. That's awesome. Nice hat.
We were just talking about, marketing, and people try to come up with way too cute names for their marketing brands. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, keep it simple. Nice hat.
Yeah, nice hat. That's cool.
I
What are
love
you gonna
that.
do, right?
I love
Awesome.
that. Well, and Tim, I mean, your name is synonymous with branding and marketing and has been for so long in the industry. And, you and I go way back. I remember when I was looking at writing my very first book, and you may not remember this conversation we had, but I gave you a call because you had written a couple of books by that time, maybe even 3. And I said, what do you think? Is it worth it? Is it worth, writing a book? And you said 100%, absolutely, one of the best marketing things you can do. And here's the thing, nobody reads the book. And you shared with me a little trick, and I'm gonna let you tell the story because I don't want to steal your thunder, but it was like so many times, and I've written several, I've written 8 books now since then. And so many people, be at a conference, they're like, hey, I have your book. It's on my nightstand. And it's, one of my video planners. It's like, take it off your nightstand. But we'll get into video and branding and things, but tell that story as far as what you did. And it may have been your first book. It may be every book. I don't know.
I don't know exactly what you're referring to.
Oh, you don't?
Give me a little heads up here, right? Like, help me.
I
I can
remember
make something up.
there's this epic moment. It's like, okay, so you told me, I don't know, maybe it wasn't true. So I'm going to call you out.
Yeah, I don't know.
If not, it's a
Maybe
really
I'm
good
getting
idea. So you told me, first of all, book, yes, great marketing. Second,
Right.
you told me in your book, halfway through the book, you put a message in the book and said, congratulations, you've made it this far. Here's my personal email address. If you will email me, I will fly you out to wherever it was you were at the time and buy you lunch. And you said you had one person that had ever taken you up on that. Do you remember that story?
Yeah, nobody ever. Yeah. My first book that I wrote, guys, was awful. But we were trying to. I'll tell you a quick story. So, I'm sure there's a lot of loan officers listening, and some of them may have companies that they're working for that are paying MSA agreements, and others maybe aren't paying MSA agreements, right? So we were a small brokerage, and I didn't have the money for that, nor was I willing to spend money for that. And so there was a Keller Williams office in the middle of the high-end part of Nashville. We were trying to get in there, but it was a captured office, right? And so I convinced Nick Thomas, one of my loan officers, to write a book. And our first book was called, it's awful title, so bear with me. It was called Dude, Seriously, 42 Ways You Screwed Up Your Sales Career and How to Fix Them Before You Go Broke. Now, we've learned a little bit
Nice
about,
and short. Yeah.
nice hat.
Yeah.
And so,
Very clickable link.
right. It's just horrible, right? But here's the thing. Nobody else had written a book. This was back, we were still on dial-up internet, okay? This is how long ago this was. And so we went and had this crazy picture of us all disheveled as, disheveled salespeople. We broke a laptop to create the image and blah, 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 blah. But it was for real estate agents. And all it really was, guys, was 42 sales tips. You can find 42 sales tips Googling them on the internet, right?
Sure.
And so it wasn't anything like earth-shattering, like make your sales calls and show up and follow up and just stuff like that. But here's the deal. We sent a free copy to the broker in charge at this Keller Williams office and said, hey, Tim and Nick are now speaking on sales strategies for real estate agents. We do free presentations and everybody gets a free copy of our book. Well, so they immediately responded and said, when can you guys come in, right? So we
Wow.
go sauntering over there to the Keller Williams office with all these books, a horrible title, just dragging them all in and everything. The two loan officers for this other company, we knew them. They're like, "What are y'all doing here?" And we're like, "We're doing a presentation." They're like, "But you have a mortgage company." I'm like, "Well, yeah." So we're doing a presentation to real estate agents. And they're like, "You can't come in here. It's a captured office." And I'm like, "But here's the email from the broker saying that I could come in." Right? And I said, "Don't worry, we'll only be here an hour and we'll give everybody a copy of our book."
We'll only be here an hour talking to all these agents.
Yeah. And so what ended up happening, this is the crazy part. I don't know if anybody ever read that book or not to this day, but I don't even think I read it. But so at the end of it, we did this whole photo shoot, all these agents and the book, and they're like, "Oh, this is Tim and Nick, and this is the book." Da, 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 da. Needless to say, it really hacked off the other mortgage company on the way out. They met us in the parking lot. They're like, "Guys, you can't ever come back." And I said, "I tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I'll make you a deal right now." I said, "I will never come back if you pay my mortgage, my grocery bill, my living expenses, my 401k. You cover
Yeah.
all that for me, and I'll never be back again." They're like, "That's ludicrous." I'm like, "Okay, well, we're coming back next Tuesday at the sales meeting. They've already asked us."
Yeah, that is
That's a
awesome.
book.
I love it.
I love
That
the
is
term you
hilarious.
used, Tim. That it was a captured office.
And so we started calling up the
Flag
captured
is there.
offices.
They claimed it.
Yeah. Call them all.
So what you're saying, that book is the Trojan horse.
I mean, there's something magical about it. I mean, we live in a digital world. I'm all about digital, and I know Scott and Frank are definitely about it too. But there's something about a $3 book, is because that's what it basically costs you to print them. But can you imagine $3 for permanent rent space in somebody's office or house?
Damn.
And
Yeah,
an
you
open
know?
invitation to come back.
Yeah, because you're perceived as an expert and an authority, and it's fun. And then they have you autograph it. And so you're sitting there thinking, "Well, I'm a loan officer. Like, I'm looking for referrals, but sure, I'll autograph your book for you," right? It's just fun, but it works.
Well, I
It
think
is
a lot
cool.
of this strategy now is getting back to that old school that so many people have gotten away, but you can still combine it with the new school. So, look at the topics that are important to people now, whether it's niche products, Frank, whether it's gizmos and gadgets, whether it's how to do video, TikTok. I have a client I'm working with. We're writing a book on how to do TikTok videos, which he's going to take into real estate agent offices. And so, having that and combining what's new with what's old, I think is so important. So, and tell me, and, we talk a lot about video in here, but really it's about being an influencer. It's about, really different things you can do to stand out. So tell me about some of the things you're doing like right now that you're really excited about in terms of standing out and building market share.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. You're our guest.
She already knows our stories.
I know that.
It's still the tried and true stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, we do a lot of events. My signature event is called Personal Branding Mastery. You've probably seen the crazy sports coat and stuff like that. I've literally been running the same slide deck for 10 years. And I think sometimes people feel like they have to come up with something new and fresh and teach something new, but it's been the same slide deck for the last 10 years. I've changed a few things, but generally speaking, it's the same deck that I've had forever. And people, I get repeat offenders that come back to the class, but we try to make it really entertaining. I think people would rather be entertained than educated. And if you can kind of, like you said, Ginger, if you can combine the two, that's really a powerful force. So I literally took a 6-month comedy class. And then most people think I need a refund from that class. I took that class just to try to figure out ways to entertain the audience and stuff like that. So we're doing that. I'll tell you another really cool thing that we're doing that can really add influence, because I know a lot of people are getting back to teaching classes right now.
Yeah.
And it's super easy. I actually got one sitting on my desk here. You see this right here, this little workbook, right? So if you open it up, you see how it's really colorful and all that kind of fun stuff on the inside?
Yeah.
That's actually a PowerPoint class turned into a workbook via Canva and then printed.
Oh, very cool.
And so it's one thing to say, "Hey, Scott, let me come over to your office and I'm going to teach you a class on the 2-1 buy down strategy," because that's basically what this is, right? Don't reduce your sales price. Let us show you how to save the sales price and lower the rate. But we turned it into a presentation, and then we had it printed into a workbook. And so it's one thing to say, hey, Scott, we're going to come teach this class. It's another thing to say, hey, by the way, all of your agents in attendance get a free workbook with the presentation in it.
Damn.
You know, that's huge, because if I'm competing against another loan officer down the street that just has the PowerPoint, but I have the PowerPoint plus a free workbook, you know, there's just something real powerful about that. And I'm still old school print, but I've had garnered so much influence by doing it this way. And you don't have to make it fancy on Canva. You can literally take PowerPoint and turn it into a workbook, but just go and file print as a workbook, and one slide deck per page with some notes. And that's plenty enough to just make you a cool cover.
Yeah, and if you don't even want to do that, you can send it to Fiverr. I mean, we made a buying in today's market and selling in today's market presentation and a handout. We don't have it as a workbook, and I love that idea, but I just sent it off to Fiverr and they designed it, you know, a couple $100, you're done. So taking anything, you know, Scott, that's something, and I know you've done a lot on the 2-1 buy down in trainings and helping people get started with that. So I love the workbook, adding that, because people are starting to get into offices. People are coming back now. So having that, how about mailing it? Do you mail it at all? Have you ever done that?
So we learned through COVID. You know, I was the creator of the Agent Marketing Playbook. You probably have seen those out there. There's a certain company that uses them. So I created that whole concept during COVID, because nobody wanted to get together, and we had all these rules and you name it, with all this stuff going on. And I'm like, look, I started getting home addresses from real estate agents way back in the day, just because they would change companies. Sometimes they'd be with Caldwell Banker, and the next day they'd be with Remax or whatever. So I started getting home addresses a long time ago. And I said, now home addresses are super important, right? So with that product, what we would do is we would teach loan officers, like, okay, you've got this magazine every month, right? And it's got all this great content in it. Offer it as a free subscription, get their home address, and mail it to them. Because most people go to their mailbox, and here's what they get. They get some pizza coupons, an electric bill that's way too high, a bill for the Tesla that they wish they hadn't bought, you know, and just all this crap, right? The student loan bill comes due, whatever the case is. And so it's kind of a miserable experience at the mailbox, if you want to know the truth. It's like, oh crap, what's in here today? But if you show up in their mailbox with a fun, super, you know, it's got to be fun looking. It's not kind of, we kind of designed that one after the old Mad magazines for all the old timers out there. You remember those?
Oh yeah.
So we kind of designed it after that to give it a pop on the front that's fun and engaging. And then the interior is a lot of really serious content, scripts and you name it and stuff like that. And when we started mailing it, man, we got a huge response, because you remember in the beginning, Zoom calls became all the rage, and everybody was trying to figure out how to be cool on Zoom and do classes, and and then it started to trail off. People were like, damn, another Zoom class? Are you serious? So when we started mailing things to people's house, not just the workbooks, but also the pop by items, if you've ever heard of that, that's the little chintzy stuff, and, you know, koozies with your logo on it and things like that with a real creative message. That stuff turns the needle, and it gives you a lot of influence, because now you've got your own magazine that you're the quote unquote publisher of. It's great content. It's arriving at the mailbox. And I think there's something sacrilegious about putting a magazine or a book in a trash can, because I've never seen them in.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they just sort of stack up, and you're only talking a few dollars per month to rent basically space in somebody's house, you know? And so that's been really helpful over the years in building influence. I still just go back to print. Not that I'm opposed to digital. I think digital is great, but it does sort of have a shelf life. I mean, Frank has been doing digital video since before they even made cameras. I mean, he still was finding a way to get on video. So, I mean, we've all seen Frank's videos, but when's the last time you researched a video from Frank 3 years ago, right? We don't go back and research it, but I still can reach in that drawer and find Mortgage Originator magazines from the 80s, right? Because they're physical, and there's something about seeing something in front of you that you kind of act upon, or you remember, oh, that's Ginger. Like, I got your box in the mail the other day. It's sitting right here behind me. Like, see, every day I come into my office, I've got Ginger's box. So I remember Ginger all the time because the box is here. I may not see her on my social feed. Do you know what I'm saying? But I remember the box. So I just think there's something, and anybody can do this stuff. It's super easy.
Right.
Here's one. Anybody could do this. This is the fun size book. Okay. Go find yourself 125 quotes or 50 quotes, or come up with your own number, 72 quotes or whatever. Doesn't really matter how many you put in there. Just find Tony Robbins and Frank Garay's got quotes out there. Scott Schang, put his quote in there, right? Make him famous. And so the title is really important. This was 125 must-read inspirational quotes for real estate agents. Right. So if you're a car salesperson, you're like, that ain't for me.
Right.
But it's a pocket size. Right?
But it is, but it ain't.
It is.
I love that.
We got the one in blue that's for car salespeople, right? But on the inside of it, it's got a little tips like 5 ways to use this book. Daily motivation to pick me up, inspire your team, update your social media, put it on your voicemail. So we give them tips like, don't lose this, put it in your purse, put it in your wallet, pull it out all the time, right? And people do, like this one's really used, as you can see, but stuff like that, that's the kind of stuff that we keep doing over and over. Keep working.
When you mentioned something earlier too, Tim, when you were at the real estate office and the book, and you took pictures with the real estate agents, and then you probably printed them off and the next week took them in. I don't know if you put them in frames or things like that, but you know, it's things that you used to do that you get away from. Because I used to do that when I would, put together a panel of speakers. I would make sure to take a picture with them, print it off, put it in a frame. And then, I'd go to their office years later and that picture is still up of me and them in their office because they haven't taken it down. So the tangible, that physical aspect, I think is so important, especially in the digital world that we're in.
It just is some, I kind of try to do things that other people aren't doing because they think it doesn't work anymore, and it leaves sort of a wide open space for the mailbox, if you will, right? Or, I can give you flyers all day long so that you can line your trash bag with it. Like there's another one, just shoot baskets all day with my flyers. But if I give you a handheld book that will inspire you every day, then you're like,
dude, it's epic stuff. It's super cool. I love it all, man. I love it all. Yeah. I was even thinking as you were talking too, it's, of course, home address is great. That's got, but I tell you what, man, if I had that book, right, the 125 quotes or whatever it is, and I wanted to get into a real estate office that maybe had 150 realtors in it, I can use the office address, but address it to that real estate agent. Now I've got my little books peppered all over their office, right? It's like, it's in their desk. It's on the thing. It's all over. It's in the break room, for goodness sake. It's everywhere. So it's just, I'm a big fan of the snail mail too. I think it's a really, really cool thing. I know over at Animals, we're big fans of that too. The snail mail is definitely, and I like the way Tim says it is, what a cheap price to pay to rent some space in somebody's house or on their desk or whatever the case may be. Always there, top of mind. Fabulous stuff. Really cool.
Yeah, it's just stuff like, it's really outside the box stuff. We about 5 years ago, this was before COVID, one of my clients, she's actually going to do over $200 million this year. She's actually up over last year in production. She's going to beat her last year production probably by about $20 million. But a lot of people forget that it takes time to do that. So 5 years ago, we were masterminding about how to build her influence, right? To me, it's about building your influence, not to be arrogant, not to be cocky, but to get more people to say yes to you because you can serve them. And so we literally went out and created our own awards banquet for real estate agents, right? Because again, listen, if I spend $15 on an acrylic award, guess where that acrylic award goes? Look behind Ginger right there. See all those awards, right? So $15 to rent space in Ginger's office is a pretty sweet deal. And so we launched it 5 years ago. She probably spends, now this is a big launch. I think she told me the other day, her total cost spend was $65,000 on this year's event, 65 grand. Now she raised 40,000 of that through sponsorships. And get this, 3 of her big sponsors are other real estate companies. Okay. And so she still had to stroke a check for $25,000, but she will earn close to $350,000 just from the people in that room because it's the elite of the elite, right? These are the best of the best. And that, again, that's a very tangible thing. Come to the black tie. Let us give you an award. Let's give you a really nice dinner. Let's have a band play. We kind of modeled it after the Grammys. So they come in on a red carpet and they get the picture taken. And then we've got live from the red carpet and they interview them after they get their award. We kind of make fun of it. The agents are coming out. We're like, okay, what are you wearing? Is that Dillard's? No, that's Macy's, isn't it? Right. So, it's a little bit of fun for them and they have a good time and stuff like, so I'm old school, but that's what's working. So
I love it. So let's talk about old school, because you have a project of the heart, as you say, that you started recently, and it takes us back to a lot of old school. So tell me a little bit about the Loan Originator magazine.
So I've had this brand name forever, theoriginatorsguide.com. I've owned that for as long as I known, and I didn't know what to do with it. So it just kind of kept hanging around like a cat that just ate food and wouldn't leave the house, And so finally it hit me. Nobody's really printing a magazine for the industry right now. I mean, you got Scotsman's Guide and some other folks out there, but they're a little bit more on the high-end professional side, so to speak. But nobody's really talking street level to the
boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. Yep. Yeah.
And so through all the work I've done with all these like workbooks and things like that, I kind of learned the whole printing and publishing process. And I'm like, hey, why not do a magazine? So we started this year. We launched the Originator's Guide magazine. Scott Schang has been an awesome contributor. Thank you so much, Scott, for your articles. Gets tons of great feedback. Ginger, you wrote an article. We're going to get Frank to write an article. So we're just in the infancy stages of launching it. And I don't know if I have one lying around. I think I gave them all out. Scott might have one. You got one there, Scott? Oh, look.
He's got two of them.
I have them right here. I didn't throw them away.
Those are collector's edition.
To your point, Tim.
Didn't throw them away. So yeah, we're growing that. It's a passion project. So if people want to contribute something, if you're an LO, a leader, whatever, you got a product you're selling to the industry, you're welcome to contribute. We'll get it all done for you. We'll mail it out to people. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's actually opened a lot of doors, to call people up and go, hey, would you like to contribute to the magazine? It gives you more influence in your local market. You can always show your agents, hey, I wrote an article for this magazine. It'll elevate your local influence. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I love it.
And when is your next? How often are you publishing?
So we started the first year just to do one a quarter because we were trying to figure out the cadence of like getting content in and stuff like that. So the next one goes out here. It actually went to the designer yesterday, so it should ship and print here in about 2 weeks. So we send it out the end of every quarter.
Good, and we'll drop some information down below too. So, and your annual subscription is like I registered.
It's $99.
$99, yeah, and that's for the print. So guys, totally
got it. That's what I was going to ask. Is for an originator to get it $99 a year?
$99 a year, so they get 4 issues. They're mailed to their house. I mean, it's
neat stuff. Very, very cool.
It's cool. It's fun stuff.
Very good. Yep.
Yeah,
really
it's
neat.
evergreen, right? You can always refer back to Scott's article last month or the one he's got coming in this month, and it'll help you out. Yeah.
Yeah. Nifty.
It's cool.
It's cool. It's like cool, totally epic. It's totally epic. Tim, like, that's cool.
I mean, it's fun, right? Whatever, dude. It's cool to be able to sit there and go, all right, look, I figured out how to put some box cards together. Great. Okay, so I got the box cards put together. If it can help you get more influence, reach more clients, and give you a boost of self-confidence, whatever it might be for you, great. Send in an article. We'll put it in there, and we'll print it and send it out for you. It's just it's cool.
I got a question for you, Tim. I got a question for you, Tim. Okay. So, and I think everybody who's watching or who will see the recording of this, everybody knows Tim, right? I mean, you're one of those guys. You're just everywhere, right?
I don't know about all that.
But here's what I want to know. You and just hearing everything we've spoken about today, there's just God. It's just like it's almost the fire hose thing, right? With Tim Davis right now. It's like, oh, there's this idea and that idea and this and this and that and the other. It's like, oh my God, this is great. Neat stuff. But answer us this, like, what's your day like, man? Like for you, Monday through Friday, like what's Tim's day like? Because there's a lot getting done. And this is a video marketing. think we haven't talked about video, and I don't
Well,
care.
we're
I
on
think
video, so there's
we're
that.
on video, yeah, but because it's just been a really cool call. But I'm just curious, like, and I think a lot of people might be curious too, like, how does this guy squeeze all this stuff in? It's like he's doing events and he's got these magazines and he's doing this stuff and that stuff. What's your day like, and how do you juggle your day for you know what I mean? Because it's clearly it's busy.
I usually sleep till 11, get up and eat some breakfast and hang out with the dog, you know, scratch my butt, and then I kind of I
spit out a magazine, and then
listen, I got t-shirts too. I got t-shirts, and I want to tell you about the t-shirts, and then I'm going to tell you how my day is. But I was at a speaking event, and I was talking from stage, and I just made this up on stage. I was like, man, some of y'all don't ask for business anymore. Like, you need to start asking. Like, this crap of like, call me if you know somebody is stupid, and that's why you're broke. Like, you've got to say,
right.
Hey, your car.
Ask for the business, baby.
Ask for the business. And I said, you know, like, you need to get a really big ask in life. And that's how it started, right? I'm like, and matter of fact, when you go to Thanksgiving dinner, your family needs to go, dude, you know how big your ask is? Like, you get the biggest ask in the family. Like, I'm gonna get you 2 cheers for your ask. So that turned into this t-shirt. It says, does this t-shirt make my ask look big?
Yeah.
And so people were like, if you print it, I'll buy it. So I printed them, and people were getting them and stuff. And I'm like, make your salespeople wear this all week. It'll force people to say, what am I supposed to ask you? Like,
what does that mean?
Yeah. But then I made the manager version. The manager version says, I like big ask and I cannot lie. And you have to wear that. So anyway, but here's what my day looks like. Seriously, I probably wake up somewhere between 4 and 5 in the morning, right? And I roll out of bed and I take the dogs out to poop, right? That's what they have to do in the morning. I got 2 German Shepherds and a Cocker Spaniel. So I basically got a zoo. So I take them outside, and during that time while I'm waiting on them to do their business, I cut my podcast, right? So the Originator's Guide Daily podcast, right? I don't have a lot of time to sit down and do a 30-minute interview with somebody. I tried all that. I got all the equipment. I looked like I was Sony Studios over here. I never did one podcast. I found an app on my phone called Anchor. It was free. And I said, well, since I'm short on time, maybe other people are short on time too. So my whole hook on my podcast is get a tip in under 3 minutes a day, because that's about all I got in me, right? So I go out in the morning and I pop out a podcast, because I think frequency of visibility really matters. People struggle with like the frequency of how often to post or publish or whatever and things like that. So it's just become part of my routine, right? And then the other thing that I'm really big on is like the one needle mover for your business. So when I was a mortgage loan officer, the one needle mover for me, my mentor taught me, he said, look, your job every day is just go write and lock a loan. Like, that's your job. If you don't do that, you won't get paid. And I'm like, okay, well, that means I can't do email and I can't do all this other stuff. I got to find somebody that's interested in locking a loan. So I get really locked into that, Frank. And that's just what I attack during the day. Now, my job is a little bit different now because I do recruiting. So it's, you know, I'm locked in on, I want to have one quality conversation with somebody that might be interested in the organization. So I lock in on that as quickly as I can get that done. Then I can move on to fun projects. But I also learned the art of leverage. So thank God I'm married to Angie. She's going to get a really extra big mansion in heaven for putting up with my crap. But she is so detailed. She keeps everything detailed. So for me, I spit off these ideas like 30,000 foot view, and then she knows how to break them down into step-by-step action plans, right? So I'll be like, hey, I want to start a magazine, right? And these are some people I'm thinking about. She's like, all right, I'll come up with a checklist for you. So she comes up with a checklist, and then I'm like, okay, well, you do those 99 things on it, and I'll do this one. But I've definitely learned with virtual assistants is another way, right? I've learned how to leverage my time. So I get up in the morning, I check the emails that I want to check. The other stuff just goes to Angie, because we've been working together so long. She can probably respond to 100% of my emails, quite frankly. So I just want her to work on that. And then I set my lead hooks for the day, right? So I got a lot of crab cages in the water, if you will, that can bring leads in. So I check all the lead hooks and see if anything's coming off of that. I usually make a few posts on social media, something funny, something relative, my daily difference, whatever the case might be. And then people that comment on it generally will get a phone call from me that day or that week. who calls anybody? Like we just message each other back and forth. Like, oh, I liked your post. Oh, thanks for liking my post. Oh, I liked yours back. Here's an emoji, but nobody picks up the phone and calls them. Right? But so what happens is I'm like, hey, Ginger, it's Tim. She's like, oh my God, I was just looking at Facebook. I was like, no shit. Wow, I must be clairvoyant. And now I got a conversation. So my day is really filled with, I know it sounds crazy, but my day's filled with how many conversations can I have that are meaningful and help somebody advance forward or help me advance forward towards my goal. And I keep it super simple. If I'm a loan officer, I'm trying to find a loan to lock. If I'm a recruiter, I'm trying to find a person who's interested in the organization. That's what moves the needle. That's what puts money in the bank. And then all the fun projects are set for the afternoon, right? And then Thea handles my booking. So if somebody says, hey, Tim, can you come speak? If I get a message about that, automatically copy it straight over to Thea. I'm like, hey, this is an event they want me at. Check the calendar. They send out the messages. It comes straight from them. They talk to them. They arrange everything. They stick it in my calendar. And quite frankly, I don't know if I'm going to be somewhere this week or not until I look at my calendar. I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to Virginia Beach. I got to be at the airport tomorrow. Okay, cool. But that also comes from this. I don't get trapped in trying to find something new all the time. It goes back to that presentation. I've been running the same presentation for 10 years. Okay. So when I show up, they want me to talk about that stuff, right? The audience doesn't know what it's going to be about. They don't know if the slide was made yesterday or 10 years ago. So it allows me to put more into my day. Because remember, I want to shake hands and have conversations, And then I've got somebody that handles my database stuff. Like I was talking to a loan officer the other day and they were trying to figure out how to do Facebook ads. And I'm like, why? Just hire somebody who knows how to do them.
Yeah, totally.
And talk to some people, right? So I hired a guy. It was like $2,500. And this is just how my mind thinks, Frank. I could have sat around all afternoon and created a follow-up sequence campaign for new leads. I didn't want to do that. So I gave this guy $2,500. I'm like, here's a link to my podcast. Here's a link to my magazine. Here's some other content. And 3 weeks later, he came out with this whole text, email, voicemail system that's just done. And he's like, all we need to do is set the bait in the water. And I'm like, cool, I can do that. And we set the bait, and now those leads start coming in. And that's kind of what my day looks like. And then I go to the gym. And
is that your friend? Is that your friend Jim's house where you go and have a cocktail after it's all done?
Right. I'm getting old, man. I'm trying to retain my youth. And so I actually go to the gym and lift these damn weights and try not to tear something. And then at 5 o'clock, we shut it down, man. We shut it down, and Angie and I hang out. We hang out with the dogs, and then I, try to find a Braves game and bitch at them, try to get them to win a game or a Preds game, or God forbid a Cowboys game. It's about ready to be my worst season of the year. So
I appreciate you sharing that, man. That was really cool. And for me, I think one of the things I took away from that there were several things, but one that really stood out is you're not trying to do anything new. You've got your things, you do your things, you know how to do them, and you do them. And first and foremost, we're going to move the needle, right? First things we do is move the needle. I know how to get that done. I've got my ways, and I just, you don't got time to necessarily always do new things, right? But they also, I like what you said too, is like, I do have 30,000 foot views and I throw those out there, but I've got, my partner helping me get those things dissected and whittled down. So really, really cool.
Yeah. And we have a team. I mean, that's the whole thing. So many times, and especially in this market, and you see people are like, okay, I need to do this, but I'm going to figure out how to do it myself. Like you said, it's like, why? That's not the best.
Exactly.
Checking, I mean, I love the analogy of, checking the bait. And it's like, that's so smart. I mean, so many things to take away from here between, doing what's important, moving that needle. So what are those things? Those are the first and foremost things you should do. And the fact that you do that very first is important. So, people have to know, first of all, what is that first and foremost thing that you need to do? If you're taking loans, you need to take an application. So what are you doing to do that? It's not difficult, It is.
Well, apparently it is.
Apparently it is.
Apparently it's incredibly difficult to have conversations with people. Listen, I've got this, when I do this presentation for loan officers, there's this lady, I'm going to call her Mary. Okay. So if you leave my neighborhood and you go up Central Pike, you cross over this one section that's pretty sketch. And I like to go through there just to see if I can come out on the other side surviving it, And so it's Old Hickory Boulevard in Central Pike by Summit Hospital. If you ever want to try it out and test your man card, go up. So there's this lady named Mary. For as long as I can remember, Mary sits on the street corner. Okay, she has a wheelchair, and God bless her, she has trouble walking. She has a cane, and we have this thing called the contributor, which if you're homeless, you can sell the contributor to cars on street corners for $1 a piece. Okay. And I've seen Mary out there in 100-degree heat. I've seen her in the rain. I've seen her in the freezing cold. I've seen her almost get run over by a car. It's terrible that the conditions that she's worked in, right? All for $1. And you know how many rejections she gets? How many times do you think she gets flipped off? Go away. I don't have $1. I don't know what she makes per day, but let's just say she gets $10 a day or $20 a day out of the hundreds and hundreds of cars or thousands that could pass that intersection. And all I'm asking a loan officer to do is take a realtor to lunch who only makes $45,000 a year and needs you to pay for lunch because they're broke anyway. And you get to come back to a nice office with air conditioning and all this wonderful stuff while Mary's out there schlepping for $1, and you can't even ask somebody to freaking lunch. Give me a freaking break, man. Come on. You're bitching and complaining because last year you made 50 grand a month, and this year you're only making 32 grand a month. But I guarantee you, if I put you up in any church and ask you to go to the front of the church and tell the congregation that you're sad because you only made 32 grand last month, you wouldn't do it because you'd be freaking embarrassed. Go out there and freaking ask somebody or get your tail kicked by Mary on the street corner. Your choice, not mine.
Good stuff.
Better hope Mary doesn't start slinging loans because
Right?
people out of town.
Everybody.
She's a hustler.
Yeah. Okay. So
Sorry.
are you in Nashville?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So we're all going to be in Nashville in November.
Are you coming to the thing?
Well, we're going to, it's a freedom club.
So Tim has
Animals.
a thing. So Tim has a thing.
You got a thing?
He's got a
We
thing.
got a thing.
He's got a thing that's like the week before. So we're going to have to coordinate about things
Yes.
and figure out what that is, because Tim has an event he's putting together that's like right before Freedom Club.
Oh, cool.
So,
Well, yeah.
so let's definitely chat about that and see if we can get things together. But at the very least, we would love to be able to sit down with you and
Just message Thea. She'll give you my schedule.
Yeah, break some bread, man.
Do what?
Break some bread.
Yeah.
Get
Thea will
together.
give you my calendar and the whole 9 yards.
you can get Frank a nice hat.
Nice hat, Frank. I'm just trying to keep
I
things
love it.
simple. Just trying to keep things simple.
I love it. I love it. Well,
Good
Tim,
stuff.
thank you so much. As always, just so many great things to learn from you. And you've been at this for you're an amazing coach. I know you do so much for the industry. So I want to thank you so much for that. And I would love to have you back on again to not talk about video.
Hey, I love Video Mastermind where we don't talk about video because that really rings home. You guys are such experts at video. Like I am not. Like I barely got this thing set up today. So I'm certainly not the Scott Shangs and Frank Garays of the world. You guys are total experts. I appreciate all you guys. You guys have been friends for a long time, and thank you for your friendship first and foremost. The heck with loans, right? We just all need better friends in this world. So I really appreciate you guys.
Likewise, great.
Same
Okay,
here.
so thanks so much, and
Awesome.
make sure and tune in next week. We're going to have Kelly Zitlow on, and Kelly does do a lot with video.
Next week is the real video class.
So Tim tells you what to do to leverage all the things you're doing with video. But I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you guys. Good to see y'all.
Good to see you. Bye-bye.